make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees and never use an oven without preheating it. Going in on each ingredient. So we have here our half a kilo ground beef, 2 cans of liver spread, 5 leaves of bay leaves, our Parmigiano, the stuffed bell pepper, our colored rice of choice, and I chose red rice, some crushed red pepper or chili flakes, tomato sauce, about a cup would do, and then tomato paste, around 2 tablespoons would suffice, and then 4 teaspoons of ground black pepper. I love ground black pepper, so I really use a lot of it. If you're not a big fan of black pepper, usually 2 teaspoons would suffice. And of course, our raisins. This part is optional. You don't have to put raisins in your stuffed bell pepper if you don't want to. I just love the added sweetness it gives. About 3 tablespoons should suffice. Alright, so this is our ingredients. This is what we'll work with, and let's proceed. So my husband isn't a big fan of onions, so I decided to lose the other one, even though I love onions. By the way, I'm making this recipe because this is Norwin's favorite stuffed bell pepper. He doesn't like too much onions, so we'll just stick to 1. So moving on, we're going to grate our Parmigiano. So grab your cheese grater and then grate away. 3/4 of a cup of this ingredient. So later on, you're going to fold that with the rest of the dish. So make sure you've washed up all your vegetables every time you're going to cook. What we're going to do with our bell peppers, so that they can stand properly inside the oven, is we're going to cut the bottom so that it could stand neatly on its own. So as you can see here, I have an odd-shaped bell pepper. So I'm going to run my knife across it. But make sure when you do so, don't run it over way too far close to the crown. Why? Because you're gonna leave a huge hole. You just want enough, you just want to cut enough so that it can stand on its own. Cut through just enough so that it can stand on its own. So there you go. So that's just a small amount that you need. And for this one, for the bell peppers that can stand already on its own, there's no need to cut them underneath because they're perfectly capable of supporting their weight without collapsing. So this is good, even though it's a little wobbly. So test it all out. So this one needs to be cut off as well. Again, just a small part, enough that it can stand. So do the same for the rest. Test it out. And then when you're done with that, the next thing that I want you to do is grab a teaspoon, and I got my teaspoon. Alright, now we're going to cut the crown part of our bell pepper. Make sure you don't cut way too thick. Just cut enough so that you could stuff your bell pepper later on. And personally, I don't throw away my crowns because what I usually do, I just pick away the topmost. I don't know what you call it, but I still get to use these. And they taste just as good as the rest of the body, except for the seeds, of course. Alright, now grab your teaspoon and then go through the sides like so, and then scoop out the seeds, and then just tap the bottom like so, so the seeds will just fall off easily, just like that. This is how it's gonna look like, and later on you're gonna stuff that with your filling and do the rest. Do the same thing for the rest of your bell peppers. This is how it's gonna look like when you're done. So just carve out all the seeds and the excess flesh from the inside of the bell pepper, if that makes any sense. Because sometimes you'll find, some of the things, sometimes you'll find things like this, an excess inside the bell pepper. So just carve it out with your teaspoon or your spoon, especially if you're using a larger bell pepper. Now, another trick that I do is once you put your stuffed bell pepper inside the oven, the problem is it has to seep through somewhere. So what you do is you insert either a toothpick or, like what I'm gonna do now, the tip of a knife at the bottom of your bell pepper, like so. So there's a hole for the oil to seep through while it's cooking. So make sure you put some nice incisions there at the bottom. Later on, the oil will sip through those incisions or those holes. Make it properly, all right, you guys, so that your bell pepper doesn't fall apart. So I'm just kind of creating a crisscross kind of incision, and I'm checking if the knife is going through at the other side, just so I know that the oil has a way to penetrate outside of the bell pepper later on when it's cooking in the oven. Now, what I also wanted to discuss is while you're making your stuffed bell pepper, it's up to you if you want to cook your bell pepper all the way through or if you want it crunchy. So Norwin, my husband, he normally prefers his bell pepper crunchy. So I don't cook my bell pepper all the way through. Some people prefer it soft. I'm one of those people, but Norwin isn't. So I'm gonna leave some of the ones that I have here in the oven now. So that's gonna be for me later on. So I can have soft bell peppers, whereas the rest will have to go in later on. So it doesn't have to soften as much as the first batch that I'm gonna put in. As you can see over here, I took the liberty of dicing the crown, the one that I explained to you earlier. You're gonna use this alongside with your onions, and it's gonna taste amazing. So you don't want to waste those parts. You can still use it. Alright, so we're almost done here, just making sure we have incisions or holes properly. There you go. Nice. Let's start cooking, you guys. Before I forget, I have to remind that you have to preheat your oven. So I know you guys can see a larger oven in our kitchen, but I like using our handy dandy smaller one. It's a multi-purpose oven, and I've had it preheated. So here I am. I'm going to put a few inside already because those bell peppers are going to be the ones that I'm going to eat later on, because Norwin doesn't like eating soft bell peppers. So I'm gonna put maybe 5. Those will go to me, and the rest, it's all Norwin's. So, they're parang bite-sized pieces nga eh. So how many is this? 3, 6, 7. Norwin has 7, I have 5. Okay, so moving on. We're gonna start cooking our dish. I'm just gonna adjust the timer for this so my bell pepper doesn't overcook. You can use whatever oil you want. Personally, I want to use olive oil for this recipe. So get your fire starting. So put it on medium high because we're gonna saute our onion and bell pepper very quickly. Drizzle your olive oil. About a tablespoon should be enough. There you go. I suggest you use a greaseless pan. So now that I can hear my pan cracking up, I'm gonna turn my fire a little way down low. Use a wooden spoon. So we're gonna make this wet. All right. Like so. So while that's sweating, I'm gonna grab our salt and black pepper. Yo, I can't find the salt. Wait, here it is. You did not see that. So add about a teaspoon of salt with your onion. So when the onion becomes see-through or translucent, I add up my excess bell pepper. If you prefer to saute your bell pepper first, that's fine. All the same. So what we're doing here is we're softening our vegetables first before I saute them with the rest of the filling. So again, the major factors of our filling are your ground beef and your colored rice, or whatever rice of your choice. At this point, I'm just gonna add around 2 pinches of ground pepper. So when your vegetables have softened up, transfer it to a different container, or use another pan to start sauteing your beef. So guys, when you saute your beef, you don't have to use oil. This natural oil will just come up on its own. So this is half a kilo. I'm not trying to promote Del Monte or anything. So brown your beef Brown your ground meat. So when the juices have come out, that's the time we start putting in the rest of our ingredients. So again, my fire at this point is at medium high. To capture my double chin. While that's browning up, I'm gonna add the rest of my pepper. I love pepper, so please don't be angry with me. And then our bay leaves. Later on, when the juices come out, just take away the ground beef, drain out the juice, and then put back the beef, and then let's start combining it with the rest of the ingredients. I don't know if the rest of you like to keep the juice, it's up to you. I'm just going to add around half a teaspoon of salt.